and welcome to another episode of Happy Mum, Happy Baby, the podcast. Today's guest is a best-selling author, giver of £1 recipes, an expert in food, poverty and food banks. What, she's got 2 doctorates?
Yes, both honorary, I should add, for anyone else than me. But
they're there. 14 awards, and she's on the national curriculum. It's Jack Monroe.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Yeah, good, thank you.
It's busy at the moment, isn't it?
Yes, it's mad at the moment. I'm just sort of like catching my breath and sitting down for 5 minutes, and it's nice.
Well, we're just going to have a nice chat about being a parent.
Oh, good.
Yeah, this is the easy one, Jack.
Good. Excellent.
You're also from Essex, aren't you?
Yes, I am, yeah.
I actually grew up in Ingatestone, and my dad lives near Southend.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so I know your neck of the woods quite well.
Oh, good. It's all right round by me.
Yeah. What was your childhood like?
Busy. My parents were foster carers, so we had a permanent revolving door of children in various degrees of distress turning up in various times of the day or the night. So it was chaotic, but fun.
Yeah. I've heard you talk about your long walks to school and and just how your dad used to get to work and everything like that. It seems like it was hectic and you didn't have a lot growing up.
No, we didn't have very much growing up. It was I think it's difficult for children to sort of ascertain whereabouts their parents sit on a social scale sometimes. My dad was a firefighter. My mum was a nurse until she was medically retired, and then she was a foster carer. And we didn't have an awful lot. We never went on holiday apart from seeing like a bronze caravan at a park resort somewhere, or occasional weekend to stay with my nan over in Northern Ireland. But we had everything we needed. We had like food and clothes and shelter, and the difference came when I ended up going to a grammar school. I was the only child in about 5 years from my primary school to get a place at this grammar school. The difference, I think, between me and my peers became quite sharp at that point because, although my parents worked hard and provided for us, my friends were being dropped off in lilac convertible Mercedes in the morning, and me and my brother were jumping out of the back of a white transit van with a fire brigade logo on the side, covered in hay and bits of straw, and we'd been sitting on boxes in the back of it going, oh right, yeah, can you just drop us around the corner actually? But it was fun, and we never wanted for anything, but we didn't have a lot.
Yeah,
that's fine.
But did you, in terms of friendships and stuff growing up, did you feel like you were accepted, and did you feel like you fit in, or did you, once you started secondary school, feel those differences?
Yeah, no, I didn't fit in. I didn't fit in the slightest. Everyone had designer clothes, and they went to they show off at school discos and stuff like that, and they had allowances and ponies, and we didn't. So we didn't really have friends over and stuff like that, but that was fine because I had a house full of foster children, so we sort of had friends turn up and stay and stuff. So it's not. I don't have bad memories of my childhood. It just was what it was.
I think for me, and from what I understand of you as well, for me, my childhood is my siblings. It's us growing up, because I didn't fit in at school either. I was badly bullied, and for me, it's Mario and Georgie. They are my childhood, and us putting on mum's high heels and walking around the garden, and doing the simple things. It's just us playing, and I imagine it's kind of the same. You and your brother seemed, from what I've read, seem really close.
Yeah, we were very close growing up.
And then becoming a mum yourself, how was it when you found out you were pregnant?
Well, it was a surprise. As a lesbian.
Talk us through this. I was listening to a podcast where you talked about it, and I was really chuckling along with you. The way you were talking about it, it was just really endearing. And so you got drunk at a party.
Oh, I can't go into this again. I can't go into this again. It's not fair on my son's father, but basically we've been friends for years, and we had a brief relationship, and exceptionally brief relationship, and
You had fun.
a few months later, I took him down the pub and sat him down and went, I'm pregnant. And he was like, okay, well, you do whatever you need to do and I'll support you. And I was like, well, as a lesbian, it's quite hard to get pregnant on your own. So I'm gonna stick with this and see where it goes, basically. And obviously it wasn't quite that flippant because nobody ever is that.
Well,
flippant
had you ever
about
thought
children.
about having children and what
No.
sort of parent you'd be?
No. I'd grown up with a revolving door of troubled children in my house. I was like, I don't want this.
Yeah.
And I was not like when I found out I was pregnant, but I was always quite adamant I was not having children.
Yeah.
I was absolutely not having the least maternal person in the world. Because I'd spent a lot of my childhood parenting difficult children.
Yeah.
So I was just like, no, not having kids, having fun, working my 3 jobs, working as a shots girl at a nightclub, prancing around in my underpants. I didn't want to get fat, for Christ's sake. But, it was, and then I found out I was pregnant, and actually all of that blasé, flippant, I never want babies, it just melted away. I wasn't going to have a baby.
Was it instantly?
Pretty instant.
Yeah.
And all my friends and family were like, oh my God, no, you never wanted this. You're being stubborn about it. Stop it now. Don't do this just to be annoying. So, I don't know, well, I'm doing it, and I did it, and I've done it, and it's worked out all right.
How was it becoming a mum?
Well, it just happens, doesn't it? It comes out, gets
Yeah.
big arms, and it just, you're a mum. So it's not, because I think I've maintained this not very maternal streak. So I'm quite, I just kind of get on with it. It's like, oh, well, there it is. It needs food. It needs its bum wiped. It's, needs some love. Here's some love. And there you go. It's not difficult raising kids. Feed them, love them, make sure they don't stick stuff up their nose or down their throats, and just let them run around. It's sort of like having a dog that answers back.
Yeah. Pretty much. But I do think there is something in that moment where you're first handed your baby and life suddenly changes.
Well, mine was a bit complex because I had a 31-hour labour, not enjoyable, and then was whisked for an emergency caesarean, at which point my son was placed straight in special care for 2 weeks. So I didn't get that here's your baby moment. I got here's a glass box with your baby in it and you can stick your hand in and pat him if you like. So it was, my instant catapult into motherhood was a difficult one.
Yeah.
But we got through it, and I took him home. We recovered, and it was fine.
But even then, that bond, like I've spoken to people that have that, and then the bond is, they haven't been able to have that physical connection, or sometimes it catapults them even more into that, instant love, and I think that bond thing is something that there's so much emphasis put on it that it actually becomes scary for some people.
Yeah, it's always, there's all this emphasis on you must intensely love this baby. And I did, and I do. But it's also like, all right, back off. I also need to intensely feed him, clothe him, look after him. It's like, love is very, very important, but it's not always enough.
No.
You need to do the practical things as well. And I am quite practical as a parent. And that's, I'm not sure if that's ideal, but it's the way that I am. I was raised by a family who were fairly military, and so that's how we do things. Make sure everything's clean, tidy, folded, fed, and and they get told well done every now and then. That's right. But that's how I was raised, so it's like that's how I am.
You make it sound so easy, but I know that the first 2 years weren't easy, and that you moved around a lot, that you financially things weren't at the best, and that you really, really struggled.
Yeah, we did, which is why I can be slightly flippant about it now.
Yeah,
because that's not where we're at anymore.
But you're great because you talk about it, and that there are other people in those situations now that don't have that maybe feel like they're on their own, that they're the only ones going through it.
Yeah, and I think that when I started writing my website, then turned into my first book, it was as a local politics website. I never imagined or intended that it would become anything bigger than just me sitting in the local gallery of the local council meetings, writing up what was going on in development control committees. So it was it wasn't exciting. It wasn't best selling. It was just a local politics geek.
But it was something that you really cared about.
Yeah, and it developed from that into, a sort of a frustrated memoir of being a single mum on the dole. And then people started to read it and connect with it. And somewhere along the way, I started to put food and recipes into it because it was something that I enjoyed and was doing. And it turned into a book. And the fact that it is still turning into books 6 years down the line is actually... I find it quite difficult to swallow that it's still something that people need in today's society, that it isn't just a blip in our welfare safety net or a blip in the way that we function as a nation. It is a problem that is getting progressively worse. And not to get too political, but austerity politics are damaging families up and down the UK. And it makes me, obviously, it's my job now to write recipes and teach families to cook and to basically try to lift as many people as possible out of food poverty in Britain through my work. I'd really like to be doing something else in 5 years' time.
Yeah.
Because although I'm grateful that I have a job, I really wish it wasn't this one, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, I wish I could write glossy recipe books that didn't have to take into account that some people only have a fiver to spend on their weekly shop. It's like, because it's sometimes like the emotive weight of what I do is a really big load to carry around. But the letters I get from people in desperate situations, or the thank you letters I get from people who've got themselves out of desperate situations, they pour in every single day. They're absolutely heartbreaking to read, but it's the reason why I carry on doing what I do, is because I can't just disappear into the sunset and write fancy recipes with kombucha and matcha tea and whatever all the fancy stuff is that everybody loves these days. Because I'm like, can it be made from a tin? Can it be made on a single ring cooker? Yes, great, right, I'm off. And it's like...
Do you think, though, the fact that you get so many letters makes you flippant about where, like, the sort of the journey that you've been on? Because you're kind of, you are in a different position now, and having those letters from people that are still in it, when we're talking about you're kind of glossing over a lot of it.
I think that I'd spent a very long time very mentally ill as a result of my own experiences in poverty, and I think that my flippancy, perhaps, about some of my own experiences now is a coping mechanism for I really don't want to have to sit and talk about it again. Of course I sit and talk about it. I give talks up and down the country. I do parliamentary inquiries. I'm required to give evidence on like food bank inquiries and everything all the time. And that is it takes a lot out of me. It's exhausting, and it's emotionally exhausting. So sometimes it's easier to just take a big gloss brush and go, yeah, well, I survived it, didn't I? So let's just talk about something else.
Yeah.
And it's not because I'm flippant about it, but it's because I'm like, I don't want to depress everyone every single time I open my mouth. I don't want because
But you're not, though. I don't think you are depressing everyone. But I understand how it must get you emotionally. But I think you are opening the eyes of people who aren't in that situation, that haven't been, and you're also there for people that are in it, to kind of go, you're not on your own, you're not. And that's what this podcast is all about, really, is saying to mums from different backgrounds, you're not on your own. There's always someone there that's been in a similar situation. And I think, that's why it's so important to share, but that's not to say to you that you have to share. Do you know what I mean? It's hard, isn't it?
It's hard to strike a balance between always beating the drum and going to people, this is crap, loads of people are in really, really awful situations, you need to help them, and to just, because, waving my hands around, I'm not used to having fancy equipment, but it is, I do find it, like, I don't don't generally find it difficult to strike a balance between the two, because if I get on one about a campaign, or if something winds me up, everyone knows. I'm just straight on there on Twitter, 14 tweet long thread about the latest thing that's really annoyed me, and usually it is hunger or poverty or some kind of government hypocrisy around it. I think it was just yesterday the government announced they were finally going to do an inquiry into the potential correlation between austerity and food bank use, and I was like, but I've given evidence at 14 of these inquiries in the last 6 years. We've done this, but you've refused to accept any of the evidence that me, other Guardian journalists, other people have given, encouraging people to donate to food banks, highlighting the problem, and it's, you know, and I can't even keep it out of my cookbooks. It's so, you know, one editor once upon a time, not my current one, who's lovely, sat me down once and said, you need to get to a point where you need to separate your food from politics, because you'll stop selling cookbooks.
Oh.
And I was like, no, my food is political, my politics are food related.
Yeah.
The two are completely intertwined, and absolutely not. I couldn't. I don't really care about food unless it's got a political angle. I don't, you know, I'm not going to sit there and go, ooh, this curry was nice, I'm going to see if I can replicate it. I'm like, it's not, you know, I don't go out and Instagram fancy pictures of my dinner and whatever, because I really don't care. What I care about is that everybody has access to cooking equipment, basic food, decent food that's enjoyable, because we shouldn't all be like, you know, the whole Isabel Oakeshott thing saying, oh, well, £1 can buy you a bag of porridge and then a family can eat that all week. And we'll come back when you've eaten porridge and just porridge for an entire week and tell me how easy that is, because as someone who has eaten porridge for an entire week, I can tell you, day one you're like, oh, I've got loads of energy, these oats are great for me, how healthy do I feel? Day two you're like, okay, this is getting a little tedious now, but it's, at least I've got food. Day three, I'll just have one bowl of porridge, I'm a bit bored of it. Day 4, 5 and 6 you don't eat anything, because you can't face another bowl of porridge. Day 7 you shoplift a sandwich from Marks and Spencer's. It's the, you know, that's the reality.
Yeah.
And so I can't separate the politics from my recipe books, because they are born of austerity. They are literally, the need for them has been created by government austerity policies. And for as long as there continues to be a need for my work, I'm going to carry on talking about why there's a need for it. I can't just say to people, here's a bunch of cheap recipes, sorry about your shit life. That's not, it's a, here's how to feed yourself for the week, now let's examine the underpinning reasons why you find yourself in this situation in the first place. Because as soon as I do one and not the other, I become complicit in allowing it, in institutionalising it, in saying, oh, well, actually, you know, well, austerity's a bit rubbish, but at least I got a job out of it. It's like, no, I can't get to that point. I'll never get to that point, because of all the hundreds and thousands of letters sitting in my inbox.
Do you think of the young mum, you know, who wasn't able to put food on the table? Do you think of her when you're creating these recipes?
Yeah, I've got a group of friends actually that are single mums on benefits, that, you know, that for various reasons aren't very confident cooks or don't have a lot of cooking equipment, etc. And I run a lot of my recipes through them. So I'll be like, here's a bunch of ingredients, here's like some recipes I'm thinking of working on. Can you cook them? Give me really honest feedback on them. Tell me if your kids ate them, and let me know like where the sticking points were. Because obviously, you know, I'm a professional food writer now. My kitchen is the size of like the kitchen you'd get on a very small boat. It's like this little narrow little galley kitchen, and it's challenging. But you know, I do have all the equipment that I need, and you know, a range of skills and a chest freezer. So I've now put my recipes out to people who are not in the situation that I was in those times ago, because I'd never let any of my friends get in that situation anymore. I'd be like, you need help, I'm helping you. But if, you know, but people who do face their own difficulties around cooking, And through that, I've taught a lot of my friends to cook, but like subversively, like, oh, you're giving me a hand with my book, and I'll just give you some ingredients with it. And then a lot of my friends have through that become like confident, creative cooks. They get to a point where they're like, oh, you're not testing recipes on me anymore. I'm like, no, because you're now too good. So now I need to find some other hapless fuck to sort of... My friends love me, really.
You say about not letting your friends get into the position that you were in. Did people not know what situation you were in?
No, not all. No, I hid it from everyone because, like, you know, you get to a point where you don't want people to come around your house because you've turned all your radiators off and you've unscrewed all your light bulbs and it's cold and it's damp and you haven't got a biscuit to offer them and you can't put the kettle on. No, I didn't have anyone round. I would go to other people's houses and eat like every biscuit that they put out in front of me. But I pretty much became quite reclusive. I stopped going out. I stopped inviting people over, and people just assumed I was busy. Because they do. Your friends. It's very easy to just drop off the radar.
It is, especially when you become a parent. I think.
Yeah,
because people are like, oh, you've got different responsibilities.
Yeah,
you know.
You've got different priorities now. Yada yada. Oh, and you've got an excuse when people say, "Oh, come out." You're like, "Oh, I've got a baby. Not, I can't afford to buy a round of drinks." So no, people didn't know what situation I was in because I just didn't tell them, and my friends afterwards were absolutely furious at me when they've then gone back through my work and read the extent of like the difficulties I was in. My parents were absolutely furious at me for not talking to them about it. My nan was absolutely furious at me, and I was like, how do you decide one day to pick up the phone to your parents or your nan or one of your mates and go, I am actually literally starving, will you help me? Because I didn't want to put it on anyone else.
Is that it?
It wasn't pride or anything like that?
Responsibility. It wasn't
partly pride. You know, I had a great job and everyone told me, don't have a baby, you'll ruin your career. And they were, you know, they weren't right because I've got a whole new career now. But I was like, it's not as easy as I thought it was going to be, and now I'm in a really shit situation. So it's partly pride.
And your benefits and everything got delayed.
They were delayed because it was deemed that I'd made myself unemployed. And, you know, it was very, very difficult. But it is very difficult to turn around to anyone and say, I'm in trouble, will you help me?
Yeah.
Because I didn't want to make my crap their responsibility. And actually, I look now and I think, I could have just asked 5 close people for a little bit of help and it wouldn't have been putting it all on one person. But it just, you know, we don't always make the best decisions when we're under pressure or you know, in a bad way or depressed or whatever. And I don't know what or how I could have done anything differently.
I think it's very easy to kind of look back and go, oh, I should have just...
Yeah, hindsight's a wonderful thing, isn't it? But
and having people say, I would have helped, or it's that...
Yeah, and it's very easy for people to also say, I would have helped you, and you're like, but you didn't see me for 6 months because I was literally sitting in my coat on my own in my living room, and you didn't think to knock and go, I haven't seen you for a while, how are you? Oh, actually, I'm cold and thin. And it's just, oh my God, the amount of people who are like, oh, have you lost weight? You look great. And it's like, I'm literally starving. I'm like, what is wrong with people? You're just like, oh, you're looking really thin. You'd be like, oh, yeah, under my breath, it's amazing what a bout of poverty will do for you. It's like, come on, guys. It's like, even now, like, obviously I'm in the public eye and people go, oh, well, you've got a bit chubby. And I'm like, yeah, I actually have food now. It's great. You know, this is my natural body. This is what it's meant to look like. It's not supposed to be like a bag of bones.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, I'm quite happy like being a bit fat actually because do you know what? I've paid for every pound of this and I'm going to keep it. So no.
What sort of parent did you think you would be like?
Pretty much like the kind of one that I am.
There we go.
Benign. Involved, reasonably interested. It's just, I am pretty much a carbon copy of my own dad.
Oh, really?
Was, who worked very long hours and was, and is quite. He was in the military, so he's quite emotionally closed, but not in a bad way, just in a sort of that's the way things are kind of way. We don't talk about feelings and things like that. So I think for I think for my family, having a daughter who is now like a national broadcasting tell-all, this is my life, these are my feelings, this is my depression, I'm having therapy. They're like horrified, absolutely horrified, because they make Brenda's rung them up again and told them about something I said on the telly. I love Brenda. She used to babysit me when I was a kid. She's actually brilliant and she's a really good laugh. But so I am actually quite unfairly using this example because it's all their friends. But they're we were quite a sort of we're not a family that does feelings or things like that. We don't hug. We're not like, and I'm not doing this as like an on the couch therapy thing, but we're just not. But we're all loved, and we know we're loved. Yeah. We're there for each other in a crisis, and when the shit hits the fan, we pull together, and and it is what it is. But that means as a mother, my son is really affectionate, and I find it bewildering. I really do. I find it like he's like comes into my bed in the morning for cuddles, and I'm just like, okay, this is happening. But it's made me a lot more like affectionate and tactile, and because I've just got this little bundle of love that's like determined to undo 30 years of like unemotional living as a little family of rocks, basically. And he's just like bundles me with love and yesterday I was really ill and he got into my bed with me and he was stroking my hair and he went and got me a bowl, and I was just like, I don't deserve you, really. I mean, I'm not mean. I'm just, I'm just a bit abrupt and, and a bit like, it's like, and he just like bundles me with so much love and stuff. And I'm like, so eventually you do it back, don't you? I think you're quite sweet. This is nice. And yes, I think I've had to learn to be a parent over the last 8 years. And I
think most people think that it comes naturally, but I think all of us are just winging it.
We're all winging it. And I think also living in such dire straits for so long really did impact my mental health. Yeah. And I did detach from like all my relationships because I felt like I was a disappointment to everyone, and I was planning to not be here, and I was like, so I'm just going to make this transition easier for people when I decide to finally do myself in. And I think I've spent the last 6 years carrying around an enormous amount of guilt around that and going, right, well, actually, now I need to bundle you with love right back because, my God, I was going to leave you and I haven't, and I'm not going to, and he's just brilliant. And I always thought that, that motherhood would be difficult and I'd be crap at it, but I've got a really great kid, so I must have done all right. So
it definitely sounds like you've done something right.
Yeah, so there you go.
At the end of every podcast, I ask you to complete 3 sentences.
Oh, good.
Fairly easy. Being a mum means...
Jack pulls a face. Being a mum means... Well, just exactly that. I think we're all mums very differently. Yeah. I don't think there's one homogenous way to mother. So I think being a mum just means being a mum, and whatever that means to you. Yeah.
Since having children, since having a child,
I've got fatter. And more content with myself.
Yay! And I'm happy when?
Oh, this sounds really shallow, but I'm happy when I'm like eating a meal with my family. Like I like to have, like, when I've got like a big group of friends or family around. But at the end of the day, at the beginning of every day and the end of every day, me and my son sit down and eat together, and we talk about our day, and it's nice, and that makes me happy.
Having read Hunger Hurts, that is beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming on. It's been so lovely and amazing to hear you talk.
Thank you.
So thank you.
Thank you.